Welcome to Conscious Conversation with me, Craig Seaton.
And Chet Carson.
Mixed it up again.
Yeah, a new introduction there. So people cannot complain anymore about our lack of creativity when it comes towards the introduction. We were still mentioning, we're talking about the jingle. We haven't really introduced the jingle yet. But ideally, I want this like really cool animation at the start. So if there's any animators out there, please do get in touch with us. And make us like a really nice introduction with the title screen Conscious Conversation coming up, and we'll attach the jingle to that, I think. So that is going forward. Joe Rogan's changed his podcast, hasn't he? He's got a new room.
Has he?
Yeah, have you not seen any of his videos?
No.
I really don't like the new room. It's a bit very, very futuristic. It's like he's in an incubator or something. What do you call them? When you go to China or you go to Japan, they have those beds where you kind of just slide inside.
Oh yeah.
So it basically looks like a large version of that.
Right.
It's like an arch, and then it's just this really futuristic thing. But yeah, so maybe we'll need to upgrade our sort of our tools. Maybe get someone else involved to manage the sound.
We need a young Jamie, don't we?
We need a young Jamie.
Pull that up, Jamie.
Yeah,
young
so
Jamie.
we're putting that out as well. So if there's any young Jamies out there, please do get in touch. So how's things, Craig?
Yeah, good man. Things are good. Things are good.
Breathwork.
How
was it?
Cracking. Yeah, really good session.
Yeah.
You were there. You were breathing with us.
Had a big turnout.
Yeah, it did, didn't it? It was great. That was great to see. I think one thing with the current climate as well, whether people will be a bit, but I think it's at the point, as it was a few months ago, people aren't that arsed anymore. They want connection again. They want to be doing the things that they were doing, and with the breathing and the regulations were all fine. You know, played by the rules for the venue, just because you don't want the venue to get in trouble. Lovely place, and you know.
I mean, that venue's huge.
It's great, man. Yeah, everyone had space.
Everyone had
space.
Yeah,
we had space.
Yeah.
I think we had 26 people capacity. The next one's 24 people. Okay. So there's only 22 spaces, including me and Liam.
So in the same venue?
Same venue again, which we've got.
Okay.
She's going to be November the 14th, so another Saturday. 2 till 6 this time.
2 till 6, nice. So it'll be a lot darker by then.
Yeah.
I really want to get onto that wall. I missed it because I was late. And I was just trying to find parking, and I think someone changed the code at Space of the Mill. I was like, why is the padlock code not working? So I parked around the corner, but I really wanted that weird soundproof wall, because I know how trippy that wall can be, because you can hear your own heartbeat. But you noticed, like, I sat through the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
I was upright with my back against the wall, and I felt like as though I was melting into the wall. Like I said to you before, in all of your breathwork classes, apart from the first couple of weeks, maybe the first month, the rest of them have just been very tactile and sensation driven, as opposed to visionary. Like, I don't see stuff in my breathwork practice, whereas other people definitely have more visions and stuff. So yeah, it's been very interesting. But do you know, when we said we wanted to do this 24-hour meditation, I think the fact that I managed to get through, well, there was a mini break in between the meditation aspect of the breathwork workshop and then the breathwork side, and I went for a leak straight in between the sort of going from the meditation to breathwork. So that was the only time I got up. Apart from that, 4 hours was just it was 3 hours mainly because of all the talking and the cacao and stuff. So it wasn't just a breathwork ceremony, it was cacao and breathwork and meditation. So yeah, it was incredible. Yeah. And I think a few of the girls that I know that attend block were telling me very good things about how it was delivered, how you delivered it. Plus, I think their experience was very interesting as well. Like one of the ladies was saying that she had this experience with seeing a snake rising up, and obviously a lot of people say that's largely down to this Kundalini awakening or whatever. I don't know much about it. Do you want to elaborate more about that?
Oh man, with anything first, it's always, I think, interpret the symbol for what it means to you.
Yeah.
When we're seeing visions, and it's knowing these things are there to see them, and also know them. The mind can play tricks as well. Sometimes, whatever we want to create, we can also do that at times. So we always have to filter these things too. When we've decided that, it was an authentic, this image came in from nowhere, and I was seeing this snake, elephants, animals, spirit animals, energies, whatever. Is it coming from our subconscious, or is it something that's greater, lodged in there? Maybe some collective consciousness or something bigger. But with Kundalini and the image, the image of the snake itself, you're looking where it comes from, and it can be positive or negative depending on what culture you're asking, and what beliefs, what background. Like, you've got the snake from the Garden of Eden, cheeky little mischievous fella who's like, oh, we'll have a bite of this apple, come on, leading people the wrong way, so it can be seen as a negative from that perspective. Or you've got the kundalini, the snake rising, moving up the spine. There's also the what's the name of it in it? Tattoo, I can't remember the name of it, but the reverse of the snake going down, which is more of a negative symbol. So yeah, it depends, and this is it. Interpreting other people's experiences or visions is always murky water. So I think anybody's ever getting into that stuff, you've got to be clear with, it's my perception is this too, because I was having a good conversation the other day with a friend of mine who's seen a psychiatrist, and we were talking about how it is when you see a psychiatrist and how a psychiatrist or a therapist has to remain neutral and impartial and not project. They can't relate their experience to yours, because if they do that, they're colouring your lens in, or your story, your experience, in this case your version of what you see, with what I know about it or what my experience is based off it, which is helpful, right, if it's a clear objective. But if it's not, and that's bad because, or that's great because, and funnily enough, there's a great quote on Instagram today that said those people following like spiritual influencers are just having that person's projections put onto them, so when they're saying do this or this means that, it's like, does it, or is it that person? And because you buy into that person and believe it, you're like, oh yeah, you become a part of it and you follow it through, which can actually take you off your own path.
I guess that's why we appreciate Sadhguru so much, because he's that one mystic in the last, God knows, 60, 70 years that's come about, and who's told people the opposite, which is, don't listen to anything what I say. What I'm saying, try it out for yourself. Come and experience this whole inner engineering program. Come to the Isha Foundation in India and experience it for yourself, and then go about your life and decide what you felt like you experienced. It's something that he said about his daughter when his daughter was traveling around with him when she was very young. He obviously had to drop her off to people and places so then he could carry on doing his stuff. So he would drop her off to the houses of friends and stuff, and he would tell the friends specifically not to give her any books and to not teach her anything. Don't say this is this and this is that. Let her experience the world, and because he didn't want to do exactly what you said, which is to taint or colour the glasses for the person, so the lenses that the person is looking through. So yeah, I found that really fascinating, and maybe this is why he's so influential to so many different people from different communities, because he's not pushing any of his stuff onto people. He's just saying, this is what I've experienced. And he blatantly says that he doesn't believe, he's never read a scripture from start to the finish. He's done bits and bobs here and there for particular lectures or particular things that he wants to say, but he's never read a scripture from start to finish. And that's because he doesn't want to take on that lens, that perspective that the scriptures were saying. And I guess for me, that perspective is very rare. To have that is quite difficult to almost tell people that you are now going to take your own interpretation about life, and which is what you should be doing. But it's nice to have some sort of guidance, and I think that's where the ancient literatures of India and in the East come in, like Buddhism as well. It's the fact that you can, when you experience something and you want to delve deeper and you want to know how to delve deeper, at least you've got the tools, you've got the manual there to say, this is how you do it. Experience it for yourself. So
that's it. It's the practice, go in and do it, and then figure it out. Like, it's the Buddha's words. Even though we say, don't believe me. Take what works for you, but don't believe it if it doesn't. Go try it and go figure it out for yourself. And it's so difficult for us to want to do that as well, because there will be people who will also say that, oh no, don't follow my experience, knowing that it's just another line that we can use in monologue to, like the Tony Robbins, I'm not your guru. Well, then now that person's my guru because they're saying that. Do you know what I mean? It's like there's always us wanting to hook onto things, and distinguishing the people that we follow because we love their ethos or how they are. Sadhguru, Jordan Peterson, Wim Hof. Yeah, that talk was really good. We'll chat about that in a minute though.
Yeah, I watched the same talk as well a few days ago.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? But those things where it's like, I like these people because, like Sadhguru, he's been somewhere, he knows, he has this mystical insight as well as the effort and the practice and how he's lived his life. But in the everyday scenarios, like the people that we're following and the social media is such a good example. I don't know if you remember, Mickey used to talk to this quite a bit, and it was a good point, but it was like posts on narcissism going around a lot on social media,
right?
Instagram or Facebook, like, your partner is a narcissist if this person's a narcissist if and it was like people were then in relationships or broken up relationships, oh, my partner was this, because they've seen a post that, links a few things of probably truth in there, but then we're giving somebody this label just because this information is coming in. It actually it supports how we feel about a certain thing, and it makes sense in a way as well, but it doesn't mean that that's what the actual truth is. It's just we've latched onto something, and that expresses how I feel or how I want to see the scenario. It's because we're always having that confirmation bias, aren't we? We're always looking for it, or even a resistance, like no, that's not me because While if we hit that point of freedom, to really bring this conversation into something bigger of what it is, the point is that it's all unstable ground. All of it is.
All of it, yeah.
What I'm saying is unstable ground to who's listening. To the breathwork sessions, I can just teach breathwork. Like what you're experiencing, yes, I have enough experience personally and leading sessions to go, okay, this person's in that state, I can help with this, or that person just needs this kind of support. Whatever. Somebody's hurt the leg, you go to a doctor, the doctor knows what to do. Doesn't know the level of pain you're feeling other than what you say, and everyone can feel it differently, but they know how to help with the leg. And that's it with like meditation sessions, breathwork, one-on-one sessions is I facilitate with these tools. What you're experiencing is what you're going through, and that doesn't want to be dampened by somebody else. Suppose it's like if you've got someone who's eccentric or really hypochondriac, and like, it's the worst thing ever and I'm sad about this, and it's like you can say, yeah, it might be bad, but calm down a little bit and look at it from this, and it's like you can help that person come down. Or if somebody's feeling low, you can rise them up. But ideally we get to the stage where we understand ourselves, and we trust the right people to help us see things or have the conversations that help us realize that, to build us up in a way, to spend time around those people who are positive and they do bring us up and make us be able to stand on our own feet, and then taking our experiences for what they are without needing it to be, what does that snake mean? What does that mean? Yeah, visions are, let's just go with visions as they come in. Work with it, but feel with it first, and then get the descriptions after. Then look online and say, I keep seeing at the minute 444 was popping up these numbers for me. I was like, okay, I'll look at what that means, because I can't really feel the numbers so much, but what I can feel is where I am when I'm seeing these numbers, and why is the synchronistic event occurring. And then if I can't put it together, I'll do the logical part next, for that extra guide. Like dream signs, because I work with dreams, that explains it all. Is the dream sign comes in, I always use the example, I see a policeman. Okay, policeman universally means somebody who's working for the law or the government, and they're supporting some form of justice. But how I see a policeman might be nice and helpful and generous and willing to help society. How you see the policeman might be stamp of authority, trying to push everybody down, bullies people. So you've got a universal symbol, but you have your cultural and personal symbol too. So we have to figure these things out for ourselves with guidance at times, but it's about us. It's
exactly what Darshan and I talked about, which was considering people's anecdotes. So if you have a case of, out of 100 people, 70% of those people or 80% of those people experience a particular type of outcome or type of thing, and then we always end up resulting in saying that, okay, that is the majority, so we're going to go with the majority and say this is what the majority is. So for example, 8 hours a day of sleep, that's the daily recommended dose. But there are people that survive. I do usually well between 6.5 and 7 hours of sleep, maybe even less, about 5.5 and 6 hours sleep, as opposed to having the full 8 hours. So that kind of stuff, and you don't consider the other portion, which is the 20% or 30%. You just discount their experience and just say, let's focus on the majority. And I think it's something that we need to maybe move away from, because I think the more interesting part in that is the 20% or 30%. Why did they say that 8 hours of sleep is not either enough for them or too little for them? I think that's more interesting as opposed to going with the majority of why are the majority saying 8 hours sleep is good for them. And the second point is about the whole narcissistic post that you were talking about. So that, when you mentioned that, it reminded me of this whole, again, this will be probably controversial, but the whole Me Too movement and how it stemmed from this idea that, maybe if you have this symptom or this symptom or this, if you experience this symptom from a guy or this symptom or this and that, it might have been that you might have been raped or you might have been molested or whatever. But in actual fact, because this person wasn't as attractive as someone that you feel as though is attractive, you thought the outcome was slightly different compared to if it was someone that was attractive. So you've got to look at it in different things and not just jump to conclusions and say, well, because of this person, these characteristics come up, and yes, this person definitely fell into that category, and then go onto social media and say, me too, it's happened to me as well. Like, it's a very negative sort of it's a dangerous path, because you are now almost claiming that certain people have done something to you, and in a larger scale you're discounting the actual situations that particular people have been in, and saying that maybe they haven't been through that. So for example, if someone has actually been molested or raped, we're now discounting that because it's getting put through all the noise of the other people that are just coming forward and saying, this is what's happened to me. So I'm not saying that it's not happening, I'm just saying that it's very dangerous to come forward and say, oh, maybe this has happened to me, because maybe is, when you're in a court of law, maybe is not good enough. So you have to be 100% sure about these sort of things, and maybe this is what needs to die as well in social media, where people say, well, if you have this trait and this trait and this trait, it's the positive things as well. Sometimes it pushes you might have an insecurity, but it might be reassured by a particular post that you read. Oh, your reason why you're single is because you're a perfect person and you're looking for someone who's just like you and this and that, and you're not willing to settle. Maybe you need to settle. Maybe you just need to say, actually, instead of pointing the finger out and saying, it's you and you're the problem, maybe I'm the issue, maybe I need to address that first before I go out there and say you're the problem. So it's looking at it in that way as well. So it's very fascinating. I find it deeply fascinating how the world has really, social media and the world has really changed us. Memes, anything that's now in a small box that you can read, has almost influenced the way we think and the way we speak as well. The amount of people that use acronyms, and is it acronyms? What do you call it when you use letters instead of words? I forgot what it's called now. Allegories or acronyms, I can't remember. But using, like, for example, WTF and stuff like that. And those were fine because we heard of them 10 years ago. But now there's a new generation of words. I'm just like, what the hell does that even mean? So you have to be very careful. And is it dumbing down society? Is it saying everything is black and white? So that's something that we have to also pay attention to.
Yeah, the use of language is funny, isn't it? As it changes, the words that change and the music changes. Like, oh, this music isn't as good as what my era was, and you get to that point. I'm early 30s, and it's like, I feel like that at times. Like, this music, what is this? What am I listening to? Yeah. Is that personal? Is it cultural that I don't resonate with that message or that kind of music? But the same thing happens when you're at that age in the golden era anyway, because there's certain types of music you don't like listening to. And you can just you're saying the same thing essentially, aren't you? But is there a deterioration in quality that is beyond actual cultural or personal bias? Like, is there a deterioration in the way that we use language, like with slang or with memes? And the idea of a meme, Terence McKenna does a good talk on that, and a meme being the smallest form you can fit an idea in that gets it across. So you're making it almost as most powerful as it can, and it has a big impact for change. But probably in the modern age, we're just going to get real lazy with stuff like that, like we do with all the instant, quicker things, less thought, how's it about me? How do I get it about myself as quick as possible? Making everything so much, what are we in relation to? Not really in a positive way, like making absolutely everything in relation to us. Yeah. This post speaks that, or, following anything on social media, trying to find what's my pull and my meaning to it, when really it doesn't need it. Like, we've got stuff that we focus on in our life, and if things are going well and good, keep with that, keep your perceptions open if things come in, but we don't need to see things that can lead us down another path or astray, or go, actually, I hadn't thought about that, maybe that has happened to me, or maybe that person was a narcissist. And it's like, well, if you've done with it, can you just let it go? Do we need to recorrect it in our minds? If there's something that's plaguing us in the inside about how we were treated or what's occurred, and it is there, and it's pushed to the back, and we don't want to face it, that's something different other than I'm going to scour through my life and see, I have been a victim, or I have been hated on, or somebody spoke to me badly, or making something out of something just for something's sake. Bored, or want to feel important, or want to feel hurt, or want to feel part of the movement. Yes. The protest of I'm making a stand. Are we? Or are we just falling into a group again? Another name and description of I am here and I am this, which we want to do. We want to do with our lives. We want to say we've existed. But what wants to say we've existed? Just personality, just ego. As it's been said many times, the kings, the emperors, Carl Sagan's pale blue dot speech. They're here for a second. And we're trying to define it with crap, really, rather than, were you happy? You know, could you be simple and happy, or were you trying to achieve and be felt and heard? And there are points in our life where we have to do things, I believe, to feel a certain sense of, oh, I've done that now. Like, you know, I remember when I started martial arts or training in the gym, and I'd feel so like timid or a bit down on myself, you know, not much self-respect beforehand. And when I got into it and I had discipline, I was like, I feel good. I feel, you know, it wasn't to be feeling anything outside in life to say, here I am. It was for me to go, I needed that confidence, you know, I needed to be able to carry myself that way, and now it's there. Which is different than going out and dominating the world or telling somebody how terrible they were. And again, as we said at the start, that person needs to know what they need to do. And things don't need to be made public. Maybe they do. Maybe somebody needs to go on the stage and shout, here I am, and then let it go, you know, because they were able to be heard then, and that's it. They've had their medicine. So yeah, as always, man, it's like you put people in the whirlwind. And this is what I think the gurus do and the teachings do, is you're going everywhere, you have to look around everywhere, try all these different things, and realise none of it is a straight permanent answer. It's all down to where you are and where you're at that time. And if you can release that and make yourself stable within your own experience, like I started a dream yoga course this weekend. Before I go into that, man, is there anything you want to?
No, I was just going to say, just to add to that, do you not think it's like the thing that Sadhguru says about the memory? So we actually suffer the memory as opposed to suffering anything else apart from that. So we're always, if you look at all the sort of things that we've gone through, the traumatic things we've gone through, at one point, yes, it might have been traumatic, but now, is it still traumatic? If it isn't, then why are you having to refer back to it? And is it still invoking certain emotions inside of you? If it is, then, you know, you have to ask why those emotions coming back up. So yeah, it's the human, you know, it's the incredible thing that we have these amazing brains, and we have this ability to retain information and look back and go through. We can actually, if I say strawberry and say try and smell a strawberry right now, your brain can register the smell and you'll get the smell of strawberries. So that ability, it's an amazing tool to have, an amazing piece of engineering. But then as soon as we use it in the negative light and we start to suffer because of it, you know, maybe because you've been chased by a dog, or maybe someone who's been abusive to you, and yes, you know, to talk about it and to help with the trauma process, if it helps you get out of that situation, great, then you're doing it right. But if it's pulling you deeper in and it's causing more anger and hatred to generate inside of you, then you've got to ask the question, is it worth me even going through it over and over and over again? You know, am I in a better place right now that I don't have to worry about what's happened to me in the past? And this is not, it might sound like you're just trying to suppress that feeling, but it's not that. It's, you know, suppression will come out in something else. It's when you've actually walked away from that. So maybe you've got a boyfriend, you had a boyfriend that cheated on you, or an ex that cheated on you, and you walked away from that like 6 years ago. Why do you need to revisit it again? Unless you're revisiting it to just talk about it to someone else who might have gone through something, just to share your experience.
Yeah, I just had a bit of a moment as you were saying that, man. It was like, imagine the potential where we can use that memory of, here's a strawberry, smell it, and like, you know, to great degrees you could probably pick up the taste of it as well, or but to use those faculties, like, but free of trauma or free of the worries that the past has created for us. And you can only do that when you start to see yourself as life, not as the person, like as just a bundle of energy. And I try and do this often, is just visualize myself. I mean, I woke up from a dream once and I just had this sensation that, you know, when you come out the hypnagogia stage, and you kind of like, you're still in the dream and you're waking up and you got the feelings, and the dream was lasting, like you're just energy, you're just like bundles of energy. And I had this image of like a human body, just loads of different balls of energy filling up the body, and the body's just a capsule for all of it, right? And that feeling, to try and bring that in daily to life, that you're just the energy moving around. And then when I make something so tangible and real, like, oh, this happened to me then, or I've got regrets about this, it's like I'm reducing what that is, because I'm making something solid out of it. It doesn't have to affect me now, but I'm letting it, I allow it to, because of what I define a personal experience as. I've been through this, so now I have to feel that, or I should see the world this way, and it can't be anything different because of X, Y, Z. It's like, it's like you're writing on line paper. So you've got a big empty sheet of paper, a massive canvas, and you're just drawing in a straight line, and you've got all this space of canvas, and like, nah, I'm just gonna write and draw here. Like, it's so limiting, because those faculties of what you mentioned with the memory, or what we want for our life, or direct or create, the freedom comes when you fucking let go of the shit that's holding us back and the weights, or use it for your future and say, okay, I want to accomplish XYZ, I need to be a certain kind of person. So you develop those qualities that give you that freedom to do that. I think that's, unless you're super aware of your mind and you can just go, right, bang, now I'm a rock star and you're on stage, or now I'm a librarian, or you can switch around that easy, which I think is something great, that it would be a great skill. But generally we have to go through the steps to reach that point. But it's letting go mainly of the stuff that's holding us back to have that freedom, to just fucking live free and wonderfully, not being held, and all the skills and developments that the brain can do, that the mind can do, endless. Then how could you not be in love with life? How could it not be a joy for you constantly? Because you're there. There's nothing to do, nothing to stop you.
Yeah, and I think a great way of measuring whether a person is experiencing joy or not is just look at their demeanor. We look at all these, we might follow all these spiritual gurus, all these yoga teachers, and the first thing that comes in my head when I see someone who's like a spiritual teacher or a yoga teacher is, how does that person carry themselves? So I'll give you the perfect example, Leo. If I was thinking about someone who's in a good place in life and he's just enjoying life, and just maybe he might be his way of suppressing whatever problems he's going through, but his delivery is very authentic, which is to be bubbly all the time, to be cheery, to laugh and have good fun with people, even though he might be going through hell and fire. He has that demeanor about him, which means that there's a certain part of him that is living life without taking it too seriously. Yeah, in certain situations when your partner might break up with you, or you might have gone through a death in your life, you're gonna stop there and you have to take things a little more seriously, and reality hits you again. But generally speaking, like, again, we mention Sadhguru all the time, but look at the video that we watched of Sadhguru and Wim Hof. Like, both of them, throughout that, they were just laughing and joking. And I'm just like, if you have any issues with anyone, even people that are scientific, have the academic mind, just look at their demeanor. How do they carry themselves? Are they bursting with ecstasy or joy? If they're not, then maybe that's the person you don't want to follow. If you want to have that energy about you, then maybe you need to start to pay attention to people who are like that, because that's the kind of environment we want to create. Like, if you look at children, or if you look at animals, they all have that. They have that bursting energy. So it just shows you that natural instinct to just, it's to do with boundless, breaking through the boundaries of the body. The consciousness always wants to be free. It just wants to get out. And people manifest that through promiscuity, or they might manifest it through other forms of trying to get out, indulging in food, alcohol, drugs, etc., because there's a sense that you just want to break out the boundary. And it is our natural inclination to do that as human beings as well. But again, we put ourselves into cells and compartmentalize ourselves with the trauma that we've gone through, and instead of breaking out of the trauma acts like ankle weights, and it pulls you down. And sometimes, and you might get into situations where for a period of time, if you don't put yourself in that situation, you might feel like, oh, I'm free now. But it just takes one trigger and you get pulled back in. So it's focusing on that. And yes, the trauma might be something really gruesome, or it might just be something very subtle. But you have to address it as trauma and let go of those shackles. So
yeah, it's really well said, mate. It's really nice. I think a big part of it is saying, like, look at how you feel now, whatever that is, whether it's I've got to be a certain way, or I'm feeling a bit sad, or I can't do this, or you're feeling lazy. Something simple as feeling lazy. Like, do you want to feel like this, and do you want this to be your life? And if you don't, act upon it. Get the energy and act upon it, because those feelings are passive. Like, it's just a sense. Do you know what I mean? We think those feelings or those thoughts. We can talk about the thoughts, but let's go into the feelings. Is okay, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling lazy. Do I want to feel like this? No. Why? Well, I want to get on and doing this. Right, just get up and do it. Switch the mindset. And having a conversation about Dr. Joe Dispenza in his work, how he says you can just switch these feelings around. And also linking anything, well, are you suppressing or are you ignoring? Depends where you are, and depends how well you know yourself. Like, if you've got something big, and you're like, no, it's not real, and you've not looked at this thing, then yeah, it's suppressing. It's like, no, I'm just gonna stay over there, like party, you know, going out, getting drunk all the time. Whatever. It's like, no, I'm gonna do that because I'm not gonna look at anything else.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm definitely not saying that's the case for people who do that, but just an example is somebody can be drinking or doing drugs, like I did, just to feel that state of bliss and not change your life to feel more like that anyway. But yeah, if you're feeling angry or lazy it's just a good example of something I struggled with at times. Like, generally very motivated, but when laziness comes in, like, well, I chilled out yesterday, so why am I feeling lazy today? I don't want to feel like this. I want to get some shit done. So I go, right, you know, you just pick yourself up, listen to a good talk, put some music on, or just jack yourself up with 10 breaths and you'll get energy. Get in the cold shower, like, fuck, the laziness is gone now. Now I'm going to do the yoga or the training session I want while the momentum's there. And you just repeat those things enough for knowing it when you're in the state. What do you do when you feel like that? Because we can, maybe it's again the times and the misunderstanding of spirituality or how we're trying to figure it all out is just let it be. You know, if you feel like that, sit with it and be with it. All right, do that. But if you're always feeling lazy and angry or sad or jealous or whatever for months, don't just sit and be with it. Like, know that it's there and know that it's not doing you any good to repeat this, firing these synapses again and again to wire it into your body. Stop doing that. Like, let's do something different. It's funny, innit? We can justify any means and find any spiritual quote or any text or a friend who will back it up. And that's why that's the beauty of having so many different people in your life, having hardcore disciplinarians and people, you know, the big guy who's like, I will train and I do eat this much, and you know, we can talk about that. But that guy gets shit done, whether he's doing something right or wrong. He's that personality type, that suit that he's wearing is, I'm getting shit done. Or they can be somebody who's like, oh yeah, like just chill out on life and gets high all the time and relaxed, and they're very happy doing that. Or they get lazy, they're okay doing it, but maybe you need to learn to chill out a little bit. Do you know what I mean? It's look at people around you and see, what feeling do you want? Where are you in your life? How do you want to transform it? Who do you need to know to do that? Because if it's not in our constant awareness, or we've not defined that capability, it'll be around us somewhere. If we want it, it'll be there. And that's what we use, I think, the benefits of social media or YouTube, or like listening to that Wim Hof and Sadhguru talk. It was really insightful, because I remember when I met Jason Silver, like big hero of mine, big inspiration of mine for years, and he came to London. I was like, oh, I couldn't believe it, you know, paid the ticket to meet him as well, and I was so nervous, man, so nervous, like, and that was to my inferiority complex of being like, I'm not good enough to be here, or what if I say the wrong thing, or people, what, you know, all this kind of bullshit that weighs us down. And watching Sadhguru and Wim Hof, and it was like, those guys haven't met before, both masters in the fields of what they do, but they're just talking to each other like
they're pals.
Yeah. And there was a really good part where you could see Sadhguru's like, he's telling him basically, stop trying to break people and make him so you've got to achieve everything and smash it, because that's like how Sadhguru's life is, isn't it? He's like, you know, you don't need to be getting the cold showers and beat yourself and doing all this fun. He's like, just come and relax with me. And the way he said it, I was like, oh, that's interesting. And Wim Hof kind of didn't really reply too much. He's like, yeah, I'll see you there. Didn't speak up on it, you know, maybe he registered it or not. I know he's a very wise man, but just to see things like that, it's like you can still talk to somebody and see you might benefit if you chill out a little bit, and not it to be taken like, well, no, this is the only way of life. You know, see where you are and what's going to benefit you. And when you've tried these different costumes and hats on, you can put them on when you want, when you're in those different moods. Yeah,
the way he said it was interesting. He said it twice, I remember. He said, ditch the cold, come over to India, it's much warmer here, and experience the warm for a bit. So what you were saying there, it just it triggered something in my head. When I was meditating the other day, I went through this really weird sort of experience, and I think this is the sort of rare visions I do get. So I've been playing Breath of the Wild again, and I realized that I saw the whole process of life as a game. So you remember playing Super Mario, and you have the coin boxes, and sometimes when you hit the coin box, a mushroom comes out, which is the world's analogy of success, or the universe's analogy of success. But then let's say you went to grab that mushroom, but you missed it because you had a Goomba behind you, and you had to dodge the Goomba. So the mushroom has just gone down the drain. So that I had this sort of vision of seeing that happening. I'm like, people were going through this tunnel, and you have these boxes everywhere, and a person first of all doesn't want to touch the box, and then has got the balls to touch the box because they're on that path where like, I'm going to get shit done. grabs the box and realizes that maybe it's a poisonous mushroom instead of the one that they were looking for, or maybe something came in the way, maybe a distraction like a girlfriend meeting a girl or whatever. I keep bringing the relationships up, but that's not distractions, but maybe someone came in the way or something came in the way and it stopped you from taking that mushroom and elevating and growing from it. It's a good analogy, actually. The Mario analogy.
I don't know if we're talking about psychedelics here, tantra, getting your shit done. Like, it's all over the shop.
Or just video games. But I saw that and I was like, wow, that's such a good. It was a quick 3-second thing I saw, and I just saw this person. Like, for example, if it's you're melting into lines, and there's these little boxes on the side, and you're trying to, like the VR stuff, you're trying to hit the boxes, but you're missing them here and there. And then you finally latch onto a box, but then instead of saying, okay, I've got this success now, and reflecting on it and saying, am I happy now that I've got the success? You turn out that, okay, it's good for a bit, and you enjoy it, like Alan Watts says, you enjoy it for a bit, and then you get bored of the toy, so you want to find something else. But it's realizing that that's what success does. You know, as big as you become, and as wealthy as you become, as successful as you become, you know, if you allow the thing to get to you, or you don't transform or evolve as a person, and you don't move on to the next thing, you might find yourself where everything in life is moving forward and you're still there in the past, still talking about things that were going on back then in a different age, like what you were mentioning about the golden era of music, and we always self-reflect and think, God, the 90s were gorgeous back in them days. Remember the movies, the TV shows, everything was just amazing. For people that were in the 80s and 70s, they would argue the same thing. The 60s music, all this kind of stuff, it's all nostalgic because we've gone through that, and now we live in a time where it's a bit more diluted, and we look at the kids and think, damn, it's the kind of music you're listening to. It sounds like crap. So it's something that we have to be very aware of, and the whole point of this analogy of the game is, you know, sometimes take on the mushroom, yes, enjoy it, but then sometimes maybe move past it and carry on going. And you get times when you're playing Mario or something where you get a mushroom, but then you hit a Goomba and it shrinks you. So you're now back to downsize, and that is an analogy of life where you've done one thing, you've dominated one sort of field, try something else out. So the whole concept of Wim Hof being a bit defensive about going to the warmth and, you know, chilling out a bit more instead of breathing heavily. And maybe even Sadhguru doing the opposite thing, which is going to the cold. And I think he's already mentioned that when he went to the Himalayas and spent time there, that was the cold. Yeah. So maybe experience the other half as opposed to just being one-sided with everything.
Yeah, I just love that you got to say the word Goomba on the podcast. I love that word Goomba, it's great. Yeah, man, it's a couple of things in that one. One, that the music thing we'll come back to, but the analogy of it, like, the way I'm seeing that is you can stop and get the prize or the goodie or whatever it is. It might not be what you think it is anyway, or it might lead to the downfall.
Yeah.
But get the level done.
Yeah.
Because I think, you know, when you're doing a speed run, you're like, fuck, I hate this level. I've died enough times, I want to get through it.
Yeah.
You don't stop to get the coins and try and 100% completion, which, you know, I can really see that in certain personality aspects I will have. It's like, do everything, get it. And like, you might not complete the level, you'll run out of time, you'll die, you'll start again. Sometimes don't stop with the goodies, just, you've done it enough times. Get on that flag, pull the flag down, you're done on the level, you know.
Or sometimes the opposite. Sometimes you just want to spend time getting the things and then not really worry about getting to the flag. Like, that's why Breath of the Wild is so good, because you can go whatever you want. You don't even have to. You can finish the final boss off, or you can decide that I'm just going to play around and not worry about the main quests. So there's that aspect as well.
Yeah. I think the video game analogy is something that is common within... people who take psychedelics. I remember having years back a mate, we did a session at my place, and he went, you know, I was having these visions after taking mushrooms of like life being like a video game. He linked it to Final Fantasy at the time, something I'd never played, but you say like, you know, you the tools you accumulate through life are like the weapons that you gather and the people that you meet to get you to the next point, and you have to fight that boss, whatever that challenge is. You know, whether it's your anger, your lust, your envy, whatever, we have to fight that boss with the tools we've accumulated to get to the next point. And I imagine so many of us just stay on a certain level. You know, we just get stuck in that pull, or that mushroom, and we get the poison one, and then we look for the other one, you know, and you just get stuck there. And it's like, whatever the biggest trait is that you're struggling with, if you choose to give everything to overcoming it, you'll hit another level. You know, you'll hit another point where it'll be a different lease of life. And I know that because I've experienced it, and I'm sure everybody's experienced it. We just forget it, especially as you get older. You get used to the level that you're on, whatever level you're playing. You're like, yeah, it's all right, I know this level. and you kind of get tired or lose the motivation to continue going. So yeah, I think it's very important to sort of see where you are. Do I know what it is that I need to level up? Am I looking around? Do I just want to spend leisure time here? Yeah, it's a good one, man.
Maybe that's what spirituality is. It's best described as that video game, because if you look at it again deeper, you've got the option of, like you said, finish off the level, just get through it. If you felt like you've gone through it enough, finish the level off. Like we were talking about brahmacharya and celibacy just before this. I've done it. I'm ready to finish off the level, and now I'm moving on to something else. But then the next level is like, whoa, like I can't even get past the first stage yet, let alone the 40 other areas of the sort of level. So it's playing around with the first stage, going forward, falling into the hole, dying again, coming back, keep doing it until you eventually master that first stage, and then you move on to the next step. So maybe even that, and that can be applied or translated to anything else in life. So your addiction towards smoking or alcohol, if people have got that, play the level, and see, okay, I'm doing it with these tools. Are these tools serving me? What's my purpose? What's the end goal in that level? To let go of alcohol and to move on to the next level and to move on to other parts of life. But if you're continuously replaying it and it's becoming a burden on you, then maybe it's exactly what you need to do, which is it's exactly what you said, which is speedrun it. Take a shortcut. Maybe just go through a detox and say, instead of me slowly easing the alcohol out or easing smoking out by going on to e-cigarettes or going on to nicotine gum or whatever, just do the damn thing and move on.
Yeah, it takes certain, and this is why you have to know where you are, the kind of person you are to get through these things, because you can stay. It's like a hidden secret, this, honestly. It really is.
A hidden dungeon.
A hidden dungeon, yeah. Secret worlds. God, do you remember that shit on Super Mario Bros. 2? I digress. Like the secret to leveling up your life and changing the world, as in your world and your perception, and open up mystical, brand new doors and wonder, is whatever that trait is that holds you back. If you choose to complete that level, it'll fucking rock your world. It really will, because you'll be free from it. Like, you don't have that pull anymore, and that energy it takes something new on. And I wonder how this sounds. Does it sound far-fetched or silly or obvious? But that's the fucking key. That's one of the biggest things I ever encountered, like fear to doing something. Teaching a class or the public speaking course I did years ago, or nervous about doing psychedelics, or I wish I could lucid dream and find out what dream yoga is all about. And then you do it and you're like, fuck, my reality's just changed. I can speak in public and talk to people about cool shit that I love, or I can mantra and chant in a do meditation in the dream state. Like, it changes your perception of life, because you've gone over that block, which took dedication. The first one, going through my nerves and experiencing the fear again and again and again to get it out, or practice waking up after 4 hours sleep night after night to get up for meditation for a half an hour or something to become aware. Like, you got to put the work in, you got to put the effort in. But when you do and you release that, I mean, like what we were talking prior to this, with the male general, what's the word? The aggregate, the tough dragon to overcome with lust. Like, do you need to go away for a retreat a while? As we're saying, if we get to India and you spend a month out there and you condition, like, no worries about time or deadlines, or is my mind being pulled this way or that way, or am I falling down here? Am I tempted to drink or smoke or have sex all the time, or whatever it is? When you're aware, you take yourself out, you can level up and build up, not to shy away from the real world issues, because they're going to be there when you come back, but you build yourself up to a point where you can face them a hell of a lot. You've got your sword and your shield, rather than going to fight the Minotaur in the labyrinth with nothing but your naked skin. Do you know what I mean? You want the equipment. How to get that is different for other people, like whatever it is, because some people won't need to go away for a month or a week, or consider, you look at holiday, why do people do that? They need to go and re-equip, they need to stock back up, because the level they're on it's draining them, it's killing them.
Mate, this gaming analogy is going into so many different areas of philosophy. So speaking on that, going away, building the tools and coming back, people that have found success in life and it's just been their first thing they've done, they found success, is that initial part where, if you think about in The Legend of Zelda, when you're playing it, there are some people on YouTube that will finish the final boss off with 3 hearts and only a very minimal level of number of items.
Tree branch.
And that's a very rarity of people. You know what I mean? And you can't compare yourself to that rarity. Whereas in the world we live in today, we've got social media that present those people.
Yeah.
Those are the people that are shown to us and say, these people are special because they've done this. Yeah, great, they're special and appreciate what they've done, but don't try and aspire to try and get to that stage, because that path is only for a 0.01% of the population. And, you know, circumstances, where they are in life, you know, if you win the lottery, again, you've just been gifted something. Those kind of situations are described in this, where you might have found a hidden gem, or you might have just managed to hit the final boss with one move and you've found his weakness and you've just managed to beat him. So could you call that a skill, or could you call it as a, you know, as pot luck? So this kind of thing we have to think about. And the second thing is addressing what is the boss of the level. So sometimes you might think something particular is the enemy or the final boss of that level, but it might be something else that you've overlooked. So there are situations where, I think, again, Legend of Zelda reference, you have those people that are just random passengers, and you talk to one of them and it becomes a ninja, and he attacks you. And he just becomes a normal person you want to talk to, or sell him items or buy something off him, and it turns out to be a ninja who wants to attack you. So maybe sometimes the enemies or the bosses that we're trying to fight are not the ones we originally think. That's my enemy. That person who hates, who hates women, or doesn't believe in feminism, or this and that. You might think that person might be your enemy, but realistically, in the real world, that person might not be the enemy that you're looking for. Maybe someone else that's close to you, or a family member might be an enemy of you. You know, the amount of people that are going through domestic abuse right now, and with the whole COVID situation and people having to stick at home, people that you originally think, you know what, I can get along with this person, and we spent so much time together, it's been great, but now we're forced into this one environment, one lifestyle, now has become your number one enemy. And that can be yourself as well. You can be your own number one enemy, your own final boss as well. So if someone says to you, oh great, you've come back from a retreat and you're just like this amazing person, and I want to try and aspire to be that just like you might take that away and think, oh, maybe I have grown into something amazing. So maybe you become your own final boss. You become the enemy of, like, the whole concept of the dark side and of the Force in Star Wars, where you originally start off on the light side thinking your intentions are good, and you end up becoming the Sith, the Dark Lord. So yeah, many pop cultural references there.
We're nerding out today, aren't we, man?
Really are.
There's something that you said then. What were you just saying just before you're the enemy? What did you say? Well, we can never go back, can we? We always get lost in our monologues.
We can never go back.
It's about realising, that was it, impermanence, the fact that everything is impermanent. And I was just thinking, as you were saying that, when we get hurt, why are we hurt by our friends or our family or the way the world is? We're hurt because we want it to be a certain way, or we expect it to be a certain way, or that's not right, or that person shouldn't be like that, or how could you let me down, or all this stuff. Like, legitimate feelings, fine, but know that they pass as well, and they're built on what you think is permanent, because you're used to that person treating you a certain way time and time again. I mean, look at people who bully people passively, like people in school where you'll be with your mates, and there's that guy who's nice, or that friend who, you know, is cool, but when you're in a group, you all kind of poke fun at him and sort of make them feel like, just because they don't say out back, you know. But when you're on your own with that person, nobody does that kind of thing. I remember that a lad once said it to me in college. He's like, why'd you say that when that person's around? And I was like, fuck, sorry, man. I didn't even realise I was. And it's seeing that it's changing how you allow the world to be by what you're reflecting inside. So if people don't hold on to something that's stable, and they see something they don't like, and they can pull you up on it, like then in that experience I was like, fuck, you know, this person doesn't speak back or say anything, and he said that to me, and I was like, you're right. And I had to restructure how I treated that person, not them, because it was always fine one-on-one, but within a group I would behave differently because the other people were doing it. And then when it's like you pull a Jenga stick out and the whole fucking thing falls down. But yeah, to branch that in, he's saying that we get hurt or upset or disgruntled if things aren't what our expectations are, if the predicted statistics of the economic crash have all fallen when we never saw it coming, even though we know an economic crash has to happen every so many years or something along those lines, oh, but that person's different, or your partner, oh, they're behaving differently today. They're allowed to. They're allowed to be free and change something or see the world in a different way. It's by holding on to what we expect creates this illusion of solidity, that the world is real. And this is saying Buddhist teachings that the issues are because we're taking transient things, thoughts, emotions, and going, that's real, that's how it is. But it's not, it's just sense. The feelings and the thoughts are just being sensed by our consciousness that's experiencing it. Don't hold on to it and don't demand it be a certain way. Create a certain energy for yourself, like Sadhguru talks a lot about. Eat clean food, have clean exercise, try and build compassion and empathy and understanding for others, but don't expect it back. Like, get yourself to that point where you can be that person. And again, it's stepping stones, it's levels. Complete level 1 to get to 2, don't complete level 1 to 8, unless you're that rare breed that you so rightfully said is pushed out to our face in the media because they've made it and they've done something. But that's like 2% or what, however many percent. And when we're comparing to that, we feel worthless. And as if we can't do that, or, oh, I wish. And then we don't pursue our own, quotation marks, mediocre dreams because we think we should be doing that.
Yeah.
Just do what you're happy.
Yeah.
I remember there was a girl I used to PT with, and she was in and out of it, didn't really love it or found it difficult. And she loved animals. And she'd work with them at a point, but then she changed the job and she went to work again. I was like, why aren't you? She's like, oh, I don't know, the money's less and I'm used to this lifestyle. I was like, but you're not happy. Like, you've not been happy for months.
Yeah.
You're always happy with animals, and so go and do that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, why do we battle ourselves? And it's I believe, and then to go into the impermanence take with Buddhism, is because we think it has to be a certain way and we're creating something stable. It's like holding on to sand, innit? You try and squeeze sand and it goes through your fingers. Yeah. That's life, that's the feelings, that's the expectations. They're gonna fall out. And we try and hold so much onto today's a Monday, tomorrow's a Tuesday, then it's a Wednesday, then it's 3 o'clock, then it's 4 o'clock, and then there's that person and he's like this and she's like that. And we do it with ourselves. And if you can like fucking tap into this shit and see that it's all constantly moving and in free flow, then you're fine. Just build your energy up and swim in all of it. Make the structure out you want, as it does help, but only do that if you're capable of being able to let it go.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the coffin there. It's the fact that the whole of the universe is moving forward through time and space, and yet the only creatures on the planet that are deciding to be stale and rigid is us, and more specifically our mind. Oh, I don't want to move in this place, I'm comfortable where I am. You shouldn't age. You shouldn't get any older as someone's partner. When people say they fall out of love because they don't find their partner physically attractive, yes, you move on. Time makes you age. This kind of stuff, this idea that you can stay young, and you get these 70, 80-year-olds, 90-year-old men that can't get hard, so they have to take pills to get hard. That's time telling you your time is up. You've done that now. To drain all that life force is going to cost you a heavy price. So this kind of idea, and I think Sadhguru mentioned this as a story, and it's like, this person went to the doctors and was like, doctor, how's my health? And he goes, well, you're perfectly fine. You're a very healthy person. He goes, well, I'm not healthy in my sex life. And he goes, that's expected. Which part? He goes, which part? Your mental or your ability to your mental or your visual or something. He never really mentioned about the physical. He goes, which part of your life is troubling you, the mental or the visual? But it's that analogy, it's that idea that we're not willing to move on. And I just thought about the whole concept of the whole COVID situation and how people are putting up all these posts that, I just want 2020 to be over and get into 2021. What happens if 2021 is 10 times worse?
It's going to be worse. I think it's going to be worse in that sense.
Yeah. So it's like, what happens if it's worse? Are you just going to be like, oh, I wish I could go back to 2020 now. I really want to appreciate it. But the problem is the fact that, when you say you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. The world isn't bad. When the weather is pouring it down, there's no good or bad about it. The fact that it's raining is probably a good thing because plants get water and hydration, which they need. The only thing in the universe, you are the only one that's suffering because of a tiny little thing that happened for a couple of minutes or maybe a couple of hours. You had a bad period of time. 1 minute or maybe 1 hour max, you've had a bad period of time. The rest of your day, generally speaking, it's probably not been that bad, and you've decided that I'm having a bad day, or I'm having a bad period of time. It's thinking about it, and it's because we're so self-absorbed in our own heads that we don't want to look at the rest of the universe. And I think, again, Sadhguru goes, tomorrow, when the sun rises, you should be jumping around and partying. And because the reason why you should be doing that is the sun's rising. If one day the sun doesn't rise, within 18 hours, the whole planet stops. The whole planet stops. The only thing that will live are probably microorganisms that are living at the bottom of the ocean. The rest of life will stop. So be grateful that the sun is rising. Be grateful that the moon is rising. Be grateful that you're living in an environment where you're getting, internet, high-speed internet, you're getting this and that. You're getting everything. The only thing that you're not getting is, yes, you're not allowed to get out and interact with people. And yes, that's needed. And we're making the most of what we can. But try and shy away from the idea that you are now the victim of this whole thing.
It's that, like, if you can be happy that the sun's rising, great. And we don't celebrate it because we expect it. Again, it's those expectations. Oh yeah, the sun's here, we're alive, we're freaking alive, And then after worshipping the sun god for however many hundreds of years, and then we kind of got a bit bored of that and we find a new god, and then it's like, well, now we're all atheist and scientific based, and
money's our god.
Money's the god, and we have there's no joy because we expect the sun should be there, and we expect, even though we live in Manchester and it rains there, it's a shit day because it's not going to be sunny, especially in the winter. You know what I mean? But it's like those expectations on what we take for granted, that I should be treated that certain way, put us on that pedestal of being over life and above life, and we then get locked into personal goals, and life isn't good enough for me because it's raining, so it shouldn't be raining, so I'm not happy, and why am I not that person who can do the game in that time, or why am I not special like those other people who Instagram tells me I should be special like. And it's all gone personal. It's not about experiencing life as life. And again, if we can work on, it's not everybody's path, because as we said earlier, there's build yourself up to the points where you can hit these realizations, not logically, but experience it, like grateful that the sun's out because you get to live. Not even that, just being like, I'm alive today, and you're free to do whatever you want, not, I've not achieved my goal yet, or I'm not as good as that person yet. Like, it takes everything away. So when we've removed expectations of what's to come or how we think we should be, living your life in the sense where you're creating a joyful energy or doing the things that you want, but without it having to be set in stone, because you're still pervious to the environment around you and what's going on in life. You're a part of it. So if we try and put our head in the sand and look at the floor rather than accepting the movement of life, COVID, the sun, the rain, whatever, it's a part of all of it. And if we are resistant to it or don't want it to be the way it is, then you're fucked, then you're upset, then you're angry, then you're disgruntled, then it becomes, because it's about the self, disconnecting from it. And like when we say, there's again a really good book in this Buddhist book I'm reading, saying like when it's raining, what does it's raining mean? Like you get rid of it's and it's raining. Raining, not it's as if it's something separate. It's like the mixture of the environment, the water in the air, the temperature, where you are in the globe. Raining is a part of life, sun is a part of life, cloudy, warm, not it's, like, because it's life. You have to take away that word it's to help yourself dissolve into life more rather than the limited individual perspective of it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's the fact that you separate yourself from the rest of the universe and you think, well, I'm my own person. It's like what you said last time in the previous podcast that we did together. You said, in the entire universe, our sort of solar system is a tiny speck. In that tiny speck, our planet is a tiny little, a dust particle. And in that dust particle, this place, Manchester, is, a size of an atom. And in that atom, you're a big man. So that's what the problem is. The fact that you think, why is this not happening for me? Why is life also shit for me? And it's just getting caught in the victim mentality. And the whole thing about the weather thing, I used to be this person. I'd be like, why in down south do they get much better weather than us? And why is it like 28 degrees in London and only 26 degrees here? And I was like, what the hell was I doing back then? And this was like 3 or 4 years ago. And that would affect, like you said, it would affect the rest of your life in terms of how you see life. So everything that you're doing at the surface level that you're doing, your job, your approach to life, the relationships you've got, all that suffers because it's like, oh, why am I stuck with these mediocre people or mediocre job or this and that? And you just you dig yourself into a hole and you just make the hole even bigger. And the fastest thing you can do in that situation is get to the grave faster, so that's exactly what we're doing. We're just creating a hole for ourselves to get to the grave a lot quicker. And if that's what you want to do, if you want to rush life so you can get to your grave quicker, by all means do it, and pave way for people that want to experience life as what it is and as play, instead of just being so rigid about, I've got to get this done, or I've got to get this and that, and if I don't hit my quota tomorrow of this many calories, this and that. It's really sad that we've taken that level of, I need to hit this quota in terms of the business level or personal goals, and now we brought it down to the individual targets. So you need to hit your 10,000 steps a day, or you need to hit your daily calorie intake, or you don't want to go over it. This kind of nonsense, it's fueling your problems. As simple as that. It's fueling people's problems and they don't even realize it. These gadgets that you've spent money on, and you think that they are serving a better purpose and keeping you active or extending your life, is doing the opposite. It's draining life away from you, because you're always stressing about that. Instead of just stressing about work or how your relationship is, now you have to stress about, God, I didn't get my 10,000 calories or 10,000 steps or 3,000 calories in a day. This kind of stuff, it doesn't need to exist. It's like when you look at your bank account and you self-reflect on what's going out of my bank account. Like, I look at my figure and I'm getting this much money a month, and then by the end of it, and everything's come out, all the payments have come out, I'm only left with a certain amount. Like, what is going out of my bank account? And if you look through it, you've got additional payments that you're giving out for free. You're not even using the service, and you're just giving it out. So you have to go back and check your bank account. Sometimes this is what meditation does. You sit there and you check your mental bank account. Am I insane that I keep talking to myself, and have I got all these negative things going on, or am I actually at ease with where I am in life? So check your bank account.
There was something Jordan Peterson says about schedules. He said, if you haven't got a schedule, you're mad. But he combined it by saying a schedule is not a prison. It's meant to make your life easier.
Yes.
Like, if you have on your list the things that you need to do or what you have to be organised by, and you don't do it that day, that's fine. The schedule's there just to show you what you've got planned, to get your time in order. And once you can do that and you don't need a schedule, fine. Because I'll be somebody, when I would have a schedule or a to-do list, it would ruin my day, because I'd be so tight on it. Like, that over-disciplined part of me would come in and be like, right, got to do my meditation, then do my yoga, then I've got to eat that meal, then I've got to do these sessions, then I've got to do that. And it's like, it takes the fun and the life out of it.
Yeah.
So I stopped using it for a while, free-flowed, which was great and wonderful, but then I got too loose. So it's like, use it, but don't be held by it.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And it's a good way to do it. It depends for everybody, doesn't it? But it's like, these tools, they're tools. They're not an enforcer of life. There goes, you have to see it this way, and you've got to complete them. Because I think we really misuse them, and they cause more misery than they do benefit. 10,000 steps. Well, if you've done 9,000, great. If you've got a goal and it's a period of time, fine. If the best part is being able to let it go. If you can't let it go, that's when we're going to have an issue.
Yeah, and it comes back to the idea that, yes, you can't stop external suffering. Like, if you've broken your leg or something that's happened, or someone is being a bully towards you, you can't really immediately say, I'm going to stop this situation, or I'm going to get out of this situation. Bullying, yes, you could probably get yourself out of the situation, but if you've broken your leg, you've got to deal with it. The problem comes is when you put the mental abuse on top of that. God, now I can't train, I'm going to gain weight, this and that. And that is the problem. We're not saying that, you're not going to go through troubles, or you're not going to go through hardship. It's going to happen. That's part of life. It's your ability to, how you tolerate that and how you respond. And are you reacting in those situations, or are you thinking, you know what, I'll leave it as that. If I broke my leg, let's leave it as that, a broken leg. Let me suffer the pain of the broken leg, and that's it. Nothing else. Why am I putting all this other mental baggage on my top of my head? You know what I mean? Like, it sounds very far-fetched and just very simplistic. Like, you would think that person would be like, okay, if my leg is broken, let me stop everything else, as in not stop life. I mean, you've got commitments and stuff, but let me stop all of the other bullshit that I'm thinking about and worrying about, and let me just focus on healing this leg, instead of just being like, God, I'm going to think about 100 different problems that come out from that one broken leg. And even when the broken leg is healed, you've still got the 100 different problems if they haven't multiplied and become 1,000. So, yeah, people will always have a reason to complain. Whether it's, and I'm saying it to the organizer of the yoga retreat yesterday. I said, and she's moved to Greece, Ibiza. And I said it's because we will. If it wasn't for COVID, we'll complain. If it is COVID, we're gonna complain regardless. Like in this situation last year, what were we complaining about? Stuff. We were always complaining. We've never gotten away from that. So people just need a reason to moan and a reason to point fingers and say you're the problem. And I think it's like what you said about the analogy of pointing your fingers. You've got 3 fingers that are pointing back at you and only 1 finger that's pointing at the person. So self-reflection.
Yeah, the thing with something cultural, it's reinforced all the time.
Yeah.
So COVID's the thing that we can all reinforce each other off now. You know?
Yeah. So the moral of this podcast is
play video games
and jump or avoid Goombas. Attack them head on. I think that's probably the better sort of advice. Attack your Goombas head on and try and attack them early. So when you see your mushroom, you know that, if I attack it here and I jump over the ledge and attack it right the edge of the ledge, I don't have to worry about the next turtle that comes along. So I can hit the mushroom.
I'm not dreaming, man. It's just gone such a bizarre turn.
Yeah, we didn't really have a topic, and a friend of mine from class asked, like, "Oh, you're doing a podcast. What's your topic?" And I was like, "Oh, we haven't really thought of a topic." And she goes, "Do you mind if I give you a topic?" And I was like, "Yeah, this is what we want." And she goes, "Well, we just had a conversation about onion and garlic. Like, you should talk about that." And I was like, "We've already kind of briefly gone over it in the Ayurvedic podcast that we did a while ago. So maybe we need to kind of revisit that and maybe go a little deeper into the sort of the tamasic, the sattvic, and this kind of foods, and how to be mindful about what foods you're consuming." So maybe a future podcast we will think about doing that. Any more last words?
Nothing, mate. That was lovely. Very fun.
Yeah, so please do try video games. Right, so podcast 31 or 32?
31 or 32?
I think it's 32.
Let's go with 32.
So podcast 32 is going to be on the usual platforms. What platforms have we got? YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and God knows so many other ones that we don't even pay attention to. But yes, please do watch us. Please do listen to us. Share this video. Comment on this video. Let us know if you've got any opinions about what we said.
Yeah, what's your boss? What boss are you on?
Yeah, and that's a good one. What obstacles and hurdles are you facing?
We can talk about them. People want to bring them up, we can chat about them.
Yeah, please do. Please do mention them to us. If you don't want to mention it in public in the comment section, then just drop us a private message on our DMs and we'll go through them. Yeah, and we just got more people watching it now. So there's been an influx of people watching the podcast on YouTube, which has been nice. When I say influx, maybe like an increase in 10 people, but an influx is still an influx. Yeah, so please do carry on supporting us by watching our stuff and listening to us. And that's it, I've already said enough. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Done.